Welcome to the webinar. This webinar is on buying and selling at the same time. So we do a workshop, I call them workshops, and we like to talk to people about what they can expect in this hot market, what that looks like. That's probably the most common question I have, and yet this is the webinar that gets our least amount of traction, which I find funny, but at the same token, I'm glad you're here because it is the question I'm being asked. People want to move if they could find the right house, or how do I do that at the same time? I need to sell my house. How do I sell and then buy? How do I do them simultaneously? Do I have to? And, kind of what are some of the smartest things to do in a hot market where we can, within some reasonable certainty, try to predict what's going to happen when it comes to selling your house, but finding the right house for you may pose a bit of a challenge when inventory is low. So we'll go ahead and get started. I've learned to drink water as I do this because my mouth gets really dry. That'll give you guys a time to also catch up and ask questions. I tend to go really fast and I just get really excited about it. So I apologize in advance. Please ignore all my tabs. I would close them, but these are like order my kids' Halloween costumes. And a lot of this is a checklist of things I need to do later. So I guess I could, what I could do is pull this out into, let me see. All right, let me do a stop share because that's kind of distracting. Let me pull this out and share that screen separately. Then it won't be so annoying. So give me a second. Now, how about that? Ta-da, nice and clean. Okay, so we're ready to get started. So this is hashtag house goals, how to buy and sell your house at the same time workshop. So if you're thinking about buying or selling and you've got questions, you've come to the right place. So a little bit about the Exceptional Home Team. Our company's values, our mission is to ensure that everyone's real estate goal is our number one priority, and join in our mission to add value everywhere we go. We want to leave a legacy where our contribution to the community is greater than just getting homes sold. So we like to find ways to give. If you have any ideas or things that are on your heart of ways we can participate in the community, please let me know. We're always looking for new avenues and ventures and how we can come alongside you and be partners. So we have an attitude, our values are gratitude, attitude, and giving. So we practice daily gratitude as well as giving of our time and keeping a positive attitude and a good outlook. I think there's plenty of negativity in the world. And so if we can find the good in almost anything we're running into, I'm all for that. Our beliefs are the fearless commitment to excellence. We will strive above and beyond, or we will strive to go above and beyond to make this as amazing of an experience as possible, to help you identify that great property and hopefully make it seamless. It can be a little stressful at times, and we look to buffer that as much as we can. It's hot here, excuse me, for all the layering with all the snow. So forgive me, I'm going to take my sweater off. In our perspective, we've always had the perspective that the golden rule prevails, meaning, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We'd like to preach that and coach that with our sellers and our buyers. And sometimes it can be, with it being so stressful, it can be hard to see the forest through the trees. But when we all proceed in that way, I think it just kind of gives back and comes full circle. So that's a little bit about the Exceptional Home Team and what we believe. I see we've got some more people chiming in, so thanks for coming tonight. But our goal is to provide you with options how to successfully buy and sell at the same time at your comfort level. So I'm going to go through what that'll look like. There's 4 different ways we're going to do that. So the 4 ways are going to buy and sell in a hot market. We've got a conservative approach. We've got the least hassle, most expensive. I could probably give these better names, but this is the risk tolerance at the top. Low risk, low hassle, and then for the risk tolerant and in a market. So we're going to do the pros and cons of each option. We're going to dive right in. So the conservative approach. Step 1, sell your current house. Step 2, rent, go into temporary housing, but you're going to essentially sell, put your house on the market, sell, close, and then go find your property. So that's a great way to do it. You get top dollar for your property, and then you're also going to be minimal risk, right? You're never going to own 2 homes at the same time, which for really conservative people, that's a real concern, and it's a legitimate one. Could that happen? Yes. And yet we'll go through, not in this scenario, but we'll go through what that looks like. And then you can decide if you're willing to take the small risks that are involved there. But it does make you a ready buyer, right? You don't have anything contingent on the sale of your home. You don't have to actually make it a purchase agreement contingent on the successful closing of your current home either. And in this hot market, it's important to eliminate as many unknowns as possible when you're presenting yourself as a viable buyer to the seller of the house that you're interested in. So this makes you pretty attractive. So we'll go through these pros. I'm going to actually pull up my little pointer because I have a lot of fun with that. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. Yes. So, well, let's do a spotlight. That's kind of fun. Can you see that? Yeah, I don't know. That didn't work very well. Okay, sorry. We'll just go with the mouse. I think you can see my mouse now. Is that right? Okay. Well, here's my pointer. Okay, so minimal financial risk. You get top dollar for your house, and it makes you 100% ready to buy when the right home comes up. The cons are you do have to move twice, right? You're going to potentially spend money on rent. You're going to have some temporary housing costs, or you're going to have to live with your in-laws or your direct family or friends. And that can just be a little stressful in and of itself, because by the time you move in, if you completely close and sell before you start looking, you may end up where you'll be there for a month or two. Even if you found a property the next day, the average amount of time between identifying the property and closing is about 35 to 45 days. So that can be a long time if you're staying with someone else. It can also be hard to find a short-term rental. Rentals and housing is in high demand right now, so it can be difficult to find somebody who's willing to rent to you on a short-term basis. You may have something that's furnished, having to put your stuff in storage. So there's a lot of logistics that go into that. So I don't do this method a lot because most people, when we go through, they might think they want this plan, but when they really look at the costs, meaning the personal gosh, I'm out of words, but that personal cost of how inconvenient that would be and the direct cost of renting, it tends not to be a fan favorite. So but that's what that looks like. Then we move into option number 2, which is the least hassle, but can be the most expensive. So this is when you go find the house you want to buy. You make a contingent offer, meaning it's going to be contingent on the sale of your current property. Then once you find that and you get it under contract, you're going to go list your house. And then you're going to pray it sells before you lose that other house, because you can still lose that other house. And the reason why we say pray is because, it's really it feels like it's up to the gods at that point. Because sometimes, we can have it on, it doesn't sell right away. We need to do price reductions. And there's some anxiety and some emotional stress that goes on, especially if you're really committed to that second property. Or the property that you're going to move to. So that can be a little bit stressful. So the pros are you only move if the stars align. So this is good for my clients who are like, Christy, we only want to move if we find that right house or that one with the perfect lot or on the lake, right? We're not going to move just for any home. So we must find it first. Otherwise, stay. Great. So if the stars align for you to be able to get that house in this market, put your house on and find a buyer, then great. That's when we move forward. Otherwise, inevitably, you're going to stay put. There's no extra moves with this plan. Oopsies, went back. There's no extra moves with this plan. So you're only going to move once, and then you're going to find the right home before committing to the move. So that's ultimately the deal here. So the cons, when we talk about most expensive, so you do risk losing the house to another buyer. When we write a contingent offer, it is sold to you, but another buyer can come along, and we use the term like bump the offer. Your offer will have a certain number of days or hours that it will be good for if the seller should get another offer. So let me explain. If an offer comes in on the property that you have put your offer on, and you have a contingent offer on, say, 123 Main Street, buyer number 2 comes in and they're not contingent and they're ready to purchase because they've already sold their home. They can bump your offer by submitting one the seller accepts the new offer subject to the cancellation of yours. So that's when your timer starts ticking, and that's a predetermined amount that was in your offer to start with, and it's typically 48 to 72 hours. You have to get your home sold and under contract. That can be pretty stressful. And often by the time you get that notice, it's almost impossible to get everything done in time, and you risk losing the house, because even if we get it under contract, it's likely still sold subject to inspection, which technically doesn't qualify as being sold to, in eliminating all contingencies. So why we say it's the most expensive then is because you typically are going to pay top dollar for the house you want, because you found it. That seller, in order for them to choose your offer, you're going to have to give them enough financial incentive to go down this journey with you, and potentially in hope that your home sells. So you usually overpay a little bit, or at least pay top dollar for the home. You certainly don't lowball them and get a deal and have it contingent. Does that make sense? And then you're likely to aggressively price your house so it sells quickly. So you're going to, instead of listing it for 500, you might list it for 475. And then depending, there's a high sense of urgency too. You may do price reductions more quickly, be quick to accept an offer that comes in, or certainly if you're at risk of losing it, you might sell it for less than you ever intended because you're caught up in the emotion of wanting that house. So that's where this can be the most expensive option, but it is the least hassle, and it provides enough personal protection so that you don't end up ever, having to either move twice, fall in love with the home you want. Okay. Low risk, low hassle. We like that, right? So this we can do. This is a fairly common one for those who don't qualify to buy at the same time. So low risk, low hassle means you're going to list and then ask that the buyer give you a longer closing date that's contingent on you finding the home of your choice. Right? So we're going to put it on the market and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when we find the buyer, we're going to ask for 60 to 75 days to close. And we're going to say it's subject to you finding the home of your choice. Now, maybe you're okay selling if you don't find it by then. But this is the best way to kind of be able to put your toe in the market, see what your home will sell for, get a buyer lined up so it's now under contract, and now you are free to go purchase. So this is a pretty common, I would say 50% of our clients do this one, 50% do the next one I'm going to explain. And we rarely are doing the other two in this market because it is fairly, it's a hot market. So it's a little easier to predict some of these pieces. So the pros are with this, you're only going to move once, I guess, unless you let it expire and then you decide not to move because you don't find the home of your choice. But this could end up being a 2-move process. If you go through the 70 days, you don't really find the home of your choice, or the home of your choice ends up being, let's just say, new construction, and it's out a couple of months, or somebody who can't meet the closing dates that are in your contract. So there is some possibility of this not being the case. But you don't have any firm commitment unless you find a property. Now, I do have some clients who are willing to say, I need at least a long closing time so I have the best chance possible. And if I don't find the home of my choice, I'm still willing to move. And at that point, I'll find temporary housing, but I want more time so I could possibly eliminate that second move. So this is real common right now. Cons, it could limit the buyers willing to wait for that maybe move. So we do really usually encourage our clients to be willing to move regardless of if they find the right home. But hey, we've done it. We've made it all happen. So if the only way you're moving is if you find that right property, we can do that too. Do you cancel if the right property doesn't come up? So that's the con that you have to really look at, is you could have a great buyer, a great price and number, and then have to say no to it, or if we're unwilling to fall into that move twice category. Any questions? We do have that question and answer button, just so you know. It's okay to there's a raise your hand button too. So I know I tend to go through this pretty fast, but if you have a question, let me know. You guys can't see each other, but I can see you. So feel free to shout them out there. If you're thinking it, it's likely that somebody else has the same question. So don't be shy. Okay, so then we move on to the fourth option. For the generally risk tolerant and in a hot market, It's buying non-contingent and then selling. So qualifying to purchase another house puts you in the driver's seat where you don't have any contingencies. You can wait and find the right home, right? You're going to find the right property. You're going to make an offer on it. You're going to get the best deal you can. You get the best deal when you buy and sell because you're not under the time constraint. And it ensures you find the right home and you only move once. This is a favorite of mine right now because my clients are comfortable that they know the market well enough and there's enough buyers that we can predict with a reasonable certainty that you're going to get X for your house. And therefore, great, let's go find the right house, make an offer, maybe put the closing date out a little bit and we'll talk about that timing, and then be able to get yours on the market, potentially move out of it so you don't have to deal with showings. There's a lot of ways that we can do that. So let's go through the example. This is probably about 50% of my clients are doing it this way right now. So the timeline of buying non-contingent, then selling. So example, we just threw a date out here. So example, today is June 15th, right? You go shopping, you find an offer, you find a house and you put an offer in. You get the offer accepted on June 15th. There's nothing in the purchase agreement about you needing to sell your home. We just have your home ready in the background to go on the market. So we go, great, we found the home, it's through inspection, we're ready to go. Let's list your current home. So 3 days later, we put your current property on the market. In the meantime, now we did, when we made this offer, we said, let's give it a 60-day closing. So that means we're closing August 15th on the new home. See, new home closing. Now, your first payment on this new home, when you close on August 15th, isn't until October 1st. So now, we go back to the beginning on June 18th, right when we write that offer and we know we're moving, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 months to get your property sold and closed before you ever make a double payment. So as long as you're closing, right, relatively before the middle of the month of October, you won't have this October monthly payment, and you'll have secured the home of your choice and had enough time in a hot market to reasonably say, you know what, even if I have to do a couple price reductions, I have a full 60 to 90 days to find the buyer for my home, get my home under contract, and the average days on market for my property right now is 30 days or less in almost every Twin City market. And some of them are even faster, right? So this is a reasonable level of risk, even though it says high risk. It's not that bad in a hot market. So as long as you understand, right, is your micro market average days on market 90 days or less? Talk to your agent or call me, right, and have me out to help understand, what is my current market? What could I expect to get? What's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? Do I have work to do? Should I get some of these things started now so that I am ready when the right house comes on, I could get my property on the market? This allows you, so you only move once. Hopefully, Lord willing, we can get those to match up. And as long as you're willing to price it at the current market value, this, if you can answer yes to those two questions, this is a fairly safe and the most financially beneficial route to getting a good price for your house, because you have plenty of time to sell it, and getting being able to negotiate the best price possible on the house you're moving to. Now, we still have people rolling in with and chiming in, our numbers growing as we continue here. Anybody have any questions? This is a lot of information. This is my most common consultation with any of my past clients who have a house to sell. They call and they say, Christy, please come out and, like, we're thinking about moving, and tell us what that looks like. And then this is when we get into understanding what their market has to offer, how many days on market it is, the high and the low numbers, what they need to do to get it ready, and then making sure that they understand, right, what is out there, because we don't want to do this one, list it, and then require a long closing date so you can find the home of your choice if what you want doesn't exist or isn't out there. So you do want to start looking at properties so you know where you're going to move to. and you know that you'd be happy, or how likely is it for you to find the home of your choice? Are they out there? Are we looking for a needle in a haystack, or do they come on at, one a week and we just need to find the right one? So we need to understand and have you know that your move up, move down, or move sideways house is what you expect. So we don't put your house on the market and go through the motions just to find out, man, I really don't like what I can get, or the city I want to live in is too expensive. That's the last thing we want to do. So, understanding what you're going to be purchasing is one step. And then this is how we organize through the 4 choices of how we buy and sell at the same time and where your risk tolerance is. So, again, if you're just chimed in, which a lot of you did, these are the conversations we went through, or the options. We are going to be sending out this recording. This is one I like to do in about 30 minutes, so it goes pretty quickly. Excuse me. So we have our conservative approach, which is sell your current house, rent, and then you're a ready buyer. So you're going to sell and close. You're going to find some temporary housing, and then you turn in to be that ready buyer. So there's minimal financial risk. Oops, you get top dollar, but you do have to move twice and spend money on rent. And those temporary rentals can be hard to find. So there's pros and cons with all of these. So this one is you're going to buy with a contingent offer. Then you're going to go put your current house on the market and then pray that it all lines up. So we talked about that. This can be a little extra expensive because you end up paying top dollar for the house you're moving to, and you end up often underpricing your house a little bit to get it to sell quickly. So that's how that works. You still move once. Low risk, low hassle is a nice combination. This is where we just talked about it a second ago. You're going to list and require a longer closing date. And then you're going to make that purchase agreement contingent on you finding the home of your choice. Again, you move once. It could limit the number of buyers willing to do that for you, but right now in a hot market, we can get buyers to do most anything. And then for the risk tolerant, in a hot market, we can buy non-contingent, knowing full well that the house will sell. And as I just explained in this slide behind us, you have about 4 months to get that done. And that's kind of from listing it here. You have to close it by October 15th before you'd ever hit a double payment. I have yet to do this with somebody in the last 10 years and not be able to get them sold and closed at the same time. I've not had anyone have a double payment because we do a really good job at identifying what their house is worth. And they're on board with the plan of, our best case scenario and worst case scenario. And we just make sure that it happens. Questions? Okay, nobody has any questions. That's crazy. Okay, you guys are either asleep or eating dinner or shoveling snow. Okay, one question. What are interest rates right now? That's a good question. Interest rates are just below 3% for like conventional 20% down. What can I say about rates? Right now, I just had somebody lock at 2.75. I just had an FHA loan at 3.125 with kind of rough credit. So we do have some resources out there. If you think your credit's rough, we have some people that can still approve even the low 600s. Otherwise, we have some credit repair options. The credit repair options we have are better if you talk to us directly rather than just talking to a credit repair company, because you want to talk to somebody who helps you improve it so that it actually improves your score so you can qualify for a mortgage. And there's some things that strategically do better than that, or better than the average a set of options. So without further ado as well, we do have 3 more classes coming up before the end of the year. Well, December 1st will probably be our last one, and then we'll pick up right after the holidays. But we're going to do a seller workshop next November 3rd. We'll do our home buyer workshop the 17th, and then our investor workshop December 1st. So feel free to let me know what you're looking for. I do run into properties ahead of them going live on the market where you could be the first to know about them. So just definitely let me know if there's anything that's on your mind or on your heart for that dream home, because we'd love to make that happen. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat box if I can. Let's see. The chat box. I have a Q&A box. I've got the poll box. Let me hit stop share. Oh, here, I know where it is. Chat. So I'm going to put these links in here. So these are the links to the buyer workshops, and you guys can sign up for those. Like I said, we will be sending out the recording for this. So shoot me an email if you were on and missed it and didn't get all the information. You can reach me at 612-231-5565. I will be on my cell answering questions either via text or call. So when we turn off here, feel free to give me a ring. I'll be finishing up some work here at the computer. I put my phone number in the chat box. You can look there. And then I really appreciate you guys coming. I know this is fast and furious information. I tend to talk really quickly and passionately about it. I work to slow down. So your questions are always helpful for me to figure out what's missing from this. But right now in this hot market, a couple of things are true. There is great deals to be had still. The interest rates are phenomenally low, and you can get more for your property from kind of an artificially inflated market than you could in the past. So if you're not sure what I mean by all of that, tune into that seller workshop. Again, that is the next one is on November 3rd. Tune into that. I'll explain what's happening in the market now and make sure that you're well aware of how that impacts you and your pricing. But otherwise, thank you. I'd love for you to leave us a review. You can do that on Facebook or on Instagram. I'll put the links in the chat box too. If you would go on and say, you know, what you learned here today, or invite somebody to any of our events, that would mean the world to us. It helps us get great information out there. You guys have been awesome. I'm so glad we had so many people on. I'm sure it's because of the snowstorm and people are hunkered down inside and not out doing things outside, but hopefully our winter won't last too long. Oh, we've got another question. Okay, Tom says, when's a good time to list? You know, we are headed into the holidays. It did snow a little prematurely. Buyers are still really out. It's not a bad idea to list now. Otherwise, it's not my favorite unless we need to list right between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But otherwise, that second week of January is a phenomenal time. And if you're targeting that time, it's never too early for us to talk, because between then and now, you could be easily preparing your home for sale, or we could be networking out with buyers that are still out, because there's so many people that are still desperate to find a home and capitalize on low rates before the election. There's a lot of uncertainty about what will happen post-election when it comes to interest rates. So that's a motivational piece right now for buyers. So if you have any interest in knowing more about how that impacts your specific situation, let me know right away. Shoot me a text, email, however you want to connect with me. I'm on Facebook all the time. I like to be available. I like to answer questions. So I just want to make sure you guys have the right information. So thanks, you have been awesome. Again, let me know if you need anything, and have a good, safe night. Stay well and stay warm.